To me, that's the message that business owners need to hear today. That's the package, that solves a very specific problem. The system that we sell is one that actually allows for orchestration. Having the message with the right system allows you to charge the right price, which then we can get into scaling because you can repeat it and you can teach it to other people. But that's really, it's kind of those three things working together. It's the message, the price, and then the repeatable system.
Hey, creative. Are you ready to discuss profits, the money, the ways to make it happen? The Profitable Creative Podcast is for you, the creative, how you define it. Videographers, photographers, entrepreneurs, marketing agencies, you get it. CEO of Core Group and author Christian Brim interviews industry experts, creative entrepreneurs, and professionals alike who strive to be creative and make money at the same time. Sound like you? Tune in now. It's time for profit.
Welcome to another episode of The Profitable Creative, the only place on the internet that you will find out how to turn your passion into profit. I'm your host, Christian Brim. Joining me today is author of Duct Tape Marketing and marketer extraordinaire, John Jantsch.
I met you at a accounting marketing conference in Kansas City probably 20 years ago.
I vaguely remember that, but it's the only accounting conference I've done in Kansas City. So were they in Kansas City that put that on?
I think it was CBiz at the time.
Oh, it was CBiz. Okay.
Yeah. And bought your book, became a fan. So we're writing Profit First for Creatives, and your post on LinkedIn really kind of just fortuitous in its timing. And so tell me what your experience with Profit First is.
So Mike's a good friend of mine. It kind of starts there. I actually helped him create the Profit First Partners Network because I was doing a similar thing. And I said, you ought to do this, Mike. So we've been friends, again, probably 20 years and have remained friends and have done a lot of things together. We loosely practice Profit First ourselves. And by loosely, I mean, we have maybe 4 accounts and not 40. And the biggest thing, it's we've done it for years. It's the biggest thing is, we just pay attention to putting profit and then share profit as an organization, or really bonus, I guess. It's not really profit, but bonus out of that pool and then taxes. That's the extent of Profit First that we practice, but it's just the principle of like, if you put it over there, you will, magically you'll have it.
How long have you been using Profit First?
Probably 10 years.
Okay. You were going to describe your problem when you first heard about Profit First or began looking at it, implementing it. What was that problem you were trying to solve?
I think we were just, so I was, a typical starter, founder, business owner who, paid. I mean, I've done some things that, a lot of the things he talks about that this problem solves, we weren't really experiencing. I mean, I'd been a W-2 employee for my organization forever. And I mean, we were paying taxes and making a nice living, but we were not focused on profit. It was, in fact, it's kind of as a subchapter S 100% owner, you're almost thinking we don't want to show a profit.
Right. Right.
For tax purposes. However, what this really, at some point we're going to sell this business. And, it really kind of dawned on me that we were not able to show, even though we were making a profit, we weren't showing it in the traditional fashion, which I know a lot of people back that out and do play different things with numbers when they're trying to, sell a company. But it's really for whatever reason, and I think that a lot of people that experience this, it sort of magically has us more focused on profit. And so consequently, our profit is greater.
Right.
So we're doing other things to make sure that everything we do is profitable. So it got more granular into profit rather than just looking at the P&L and going, oh, yeah, we made some money this month.
So you are working with other ad agencies, is that correct?
So we actually have a number of businesses. We have our own agency, which really practices, it's kind of the laboratory, if you will, for duct tape marketing and our methodology. And then we actually license our methodology, which is essentially a very specific approach to developing strategy for small, mid-sized businesses. We license that to other agencies, consultants, coaches, fractional CMOs. And they pay us essentially a training fee, but then they also join a network as well. That part's actually optional, but can participate in an ongoing network where we do in-person events and continued training and masterminding, all those things.
So when you're looking at marketing agencies, the lay of the land, what's out there, I have my own opinion, but no one cares about mine. We'll focus on yours since you're the expert. It seems like that's a very dynamically changing environment. And I know that there's oftentimes a lack when you talk about a marketing agency, especially in the small business world. The whole concept of business objectives and return on investment is not even considered. Talk about what you see.
So what we see is there are actually very few marketing agencies. They are tactics agencies. And they're selling a suite of 3 tactics or the tactic of the week or whatever it is that they do or whatever the client says that they want. And quite often they are not, there's no emphasis on strategy. There's no emphasis on messaging or differentiation. It's all just about, we're going to drive leads, through SEO or, whatever the thing is that they do. And I think the 2 things have happened. I really see a lot of businesses that are getting kind of soured by that approach because it doesn't move the needle. But I also see a lot of people selling those tactics for increasingly lower amounts. And so from the agency standpoint, if you're relying on those tactics, it's kind of a race to the bottom.
Right.
What we find is by selling strategy, actually our whole goal when we get a prospect is to sell them this engagement that we call strategy first. Because first off, it attracts the right clients, that realize they need to invest in their marketing, invest in their business, but it also allows us to develop the right relationship. We're not a vendor. At that point, we are a trusted advisor. And consequently, what it allows us to do is it allows us to charge profitably then for the tactics because we are their trusted advisor. They just want us to make it happen.
So writing this book, Profit First for Creatives, I've come on this core statement that I want to share with you, and then you tell me where if my head's in the cloud or I'm on track.
Okay.
So the core message of this book is going to be that you don't have to compromise your creativity to make a profit. Creativity and profitability are complementary.
Yep.
What do you think about that statement?
I think that it's going to be the only profitable space left for creatives because, I spoke at a conference yesterday and one of the first speakers was using AI in design. And it was all about, look at this cool stuff it can do. Nobody was talking about, the strategic, aspect that a truly creative person can bring that, no AI will. And I'm not bashing AI. I mean, a lot of people in the creative industry, are fearful of these new tools. And what I always tell people is somebody who is a hack using AI is not going to take your job. However, somebody who is creative like you, who employs AI to do some of the things that it's meant to do, will take your job because, that to me is, the creativity. AI, well, maybe someday I'll get there. So I shouldn't say we'll never, but currently AI doesn't dream, it doesn't think outside the box. I mean, essentially a lot of these tools that are seen as kind of cool tools and really trendy tools right now, are essentially doing what they've been taught to do. The real value of a creative person is somebody who can package, who can take 2 things and put them together that we all look at that, somebody that's truly creative and you're like, wow, I never would have thought of that. And it was literally somebody that was paying attention to something, that looked truly unique to them. And they were actually able to bring it into the world. I think that space is very safe today now, showing people what that would look like in 8 different colors. That's what AI is for. I
think in the marketing agencies specifically, as opposed to maybe like other creatives, like content creators or videographers, they're living in that realm of algorithms already and have been. The impact, I think they're seeing it quicker, but it's this whole idea that really the value that you bring as a creative entrepreneur is the novelty.
Yeah.
It's what you're creating that didn't exist. You're creating value for your customer or your client to solve their problem. And the more uniquely you can do that and the more novel that you can do that, the more you can charge.
100%. And it's really what I'm finding is what's the missing ingredient is orchestration. And that, that's really where, by having, what we've really leaned into licensing fractional CMOs is what we're actually calling this, because to me, that's the message that business owners need to hear today. That's the package, that solves a very specific problem. The system that we sell is one that actually allows for orchestration. Having the message with the right system allows you to charge the right price, which then we can get into scaling because you can repeat it and you can teach it to other people. But that's really, it's kind of those three things working together. It's the message, the price, and then the repeatable system.
Today's episode of The Profitable Creative is brought to you by Core Group. Are you tired of doing it all yourself? Do you feel like you have no plan? Let Core Group guide you to build the business of your dreams. Core Group, your go-to accountant for creatives.
So speaking about the agencies that you work with, do you talk to them about Profit First? Do you recommend it? Do you share your experience?
So we definitely have had Mike and probably Ron too on, doing training, to our folks. And I know that just because I hear them talking about it, probably a dozen or so of the agencies we work with use Profit First, either DIY or, working with somebody. We were actually talking to Mike this week. In fact, it's kind of one of these things we've been saying for a couple of years. We should really embed our relationship a lot deeper and really, be bringing Profit First professionals into some of our clients, so not just the agencies, but some of the clients that those agencies work with.
Do you see a difference in the agencies you work with, those that do implement Profit First?
Yeah. So we don't intentionally talk about that aspect of their business because it's none of our business. That's, not what we're really in. But certainly anecdotally, from what they tell me, there are some, raving fans just about how it's kind of changed their whole, I think a lot of agency people, this is a broad generalization, but a lot of marketers, let's put it that way, and creatives probably, the whole numbers thing is, not really their strong suit. And I think that what Profit First has done for a lot of the people I know in that kind of situation is it just kind of simplifies the language. It makes it logical. It's not all about, accounting terms necessarily. And I think that in some ways it's, whether they are making any more profit or not, it's kind of relieved some of the stress about the whole category.
Sure. Absolutely. That tracks with what I've heard from other creatives. One of the things that, one of my teaching points in my book is around mindset, and that Profit First is a tool, and kind of like picking up a hammer to try and drive a screw. If you don't understand the intent of the tool, you really can't use it properly. And this mindset around profit, around making money with creatives seems to be very distinct. There seems to be this dichotomy of either I can do what I don't like to do and I can make a lot of money grinding stuff out, or I can do what I truly love and I may or may not make any money at it. What do you say to that?
Mindset is definitely an issue there. I think there's even guilt, the artist is like, you do kind of the cliche of, oh, you're going to sell out.
Yes.
Andy Warhol,
right?
One of the most creative people, that people would name as a great artist, made prints.
Right. The horror of it all.
But I mean, I think that what he was able to do, though, was push. Nobody made prints silk screening like he made them, so it was still, he was able to mass produce items that he felt still, embodied his creativity, but also realized that, there was a lot of money to be made, in doing, that and getting his art out. So that's one example I've heard other people point to, because a lot of people just don't think of him as, selling out, but he mass produced, lots of things. He was one of the first people to have apprentices do his art. So I think that, I think that's just one of those kind of things that's in the, mind of creatives. And, and I think it probably goes hand in hand with, the more creative somebody is, sometimes the less analytical. And so I think there is this kind of like you move farther away from ever wanting to see a profit sheet. I think a lot of creatives also do the art that they want to do in some, I won't say it's all a rebellion, but there is sort of a little bit of like, oh, the masses are doing this, I want to do something unique. That comes with a great price. And so I think some feel like you can't have it both ways, or that if you are actually, profitable as an artist, that's a bad thing. And I think that's partly just, that's kind of the culture that's out there, I guess.
Perry Marshall, I don't know. Do you know him?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So I was at an event that he was presenting on, and he made this distinction between artists and builders as entrepreneurs. And the builder sees an opportunity, a need in the marketplace, and an opportunity to make money, and they go do it. Whereas the creative entrepreneur, not to say they're in the creative industry, because I consider myself a creative entrepreneur, but I'm not in the creative industry. Mine is passion driven. And so they look at that same opportunity that the builder does and says, well, yeah, I can see the opportunity. I can see that there's money to be made, but why would I do that? Because I don't have any interest in it.
Well, sure. You actually opened up a really big point too there. I think that the word creative is terribly limiting in, a lot of people's minds. It's like, if I'm not a singer or a painter or, then right, I'm not really that. But I mean, every entrepreneur, I think, makes creative decisions probably all day long.
Absolutely.
And somebody wouldn't look at that and go, oh, I'm going to frame that. But I think that, I think we underestimate how many of us really are in the creative field.
Absolutely. And I think, talking to my publisher and really kind of crafting this message, one of the things that came to me very early was the importance of this message, because I think that the world needs more creative entrepreneurs. We need more people that can solve problems creatively, whatever industry, because that's where the need is, and that's where the gap is, if you will.
That's a wrap for today's episode of The Profitable Creative. Until next time, you money lovers, you. And don't forget, Profit First for Creatives is live via Amazon. Link below. And that's a wrap for today's episode of The Profitable Creative. Until next time, you money lovers. And don't forget, Profit First for Creatives is live via Amazon. Link below.